أمار على عبد ضربني من ضرب الجيل القاعد ابني.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear respected brothers and sisters and dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV, and welcome back to this final episode of this Fatimiyya series as we look to discuss the importance of Fatimiyya and its importance in our Shia identity. Over the past few nights we have discussed a range of topics that are to do with Fatimiyya, but tonight we want to link it to Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, and who better to help me do this than our dear respected Sheikh, Sheikh Vinay. Khetia, assalamu alaikum Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Now, Sheikh, I want to, because as they say, in every majlis, whether you're speaking about Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, or whether you're speaking about Imam al-Askari alayhi salam, there's always a link back to Karbala. What's the role of Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam in the mourning of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam?
Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, her role is the beginning and the end. And the reason being is because we read in the traditions that the conclusion of the justice for Imam al-Hussein on the Day of Judgment will come with Fatima Zahra. That she, and we have different traditions, we can go through them together, but in a nutshell, she brings, of course, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're created, Allah is the creator. As far as all the created beings goes, it would seem that she has the final word. Her or Rasulullah, or both, have the final word. You know how they say the last word?
Yeah.
The last kalima is with Fatima Zahra. It's very powerful. Not in dunya, Yawm al-Qiyamah,
Oh wow.
the day of resurrection. It's almost like all this tragedy has happened. And how will it all be set right? And that comes with the arrival of Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha on the Day of Judgment.
Now, does she have is there any riwayat of, let's say, what she looks for
Yeah.
on the Day of Judgment?
Or what will happen, yeah.
Yeah.
We have traditions from Ahlul Bayt which indicate that she will come, some say, on a caravan of some sort, or on some vehicle of some sort. Again, this could be symbolic because we're talking about the Day of Judgment, right? Or a caravan of light of some sort, and everyone will lower their necks in front of her on the Day of Judgment. This is in Sunni and non-Shia and Sunni sources. That they will lower their heads as she comes on the Day of Judgment, and out of respect for her, like all of creation, you can imagine.
Wow.
It's like she's the queen of humanity. It's like the Prophet is the king of humanity,
Yeah.
so to speak. We don't call him a king.
Of course. Yeah.
Khatam al-Anbiya wal-Mursaleen, Afdalul Anbiya wal-Mursaleen, the most virtuous of and the best of all the prophets. Sayyidul Khalq, you can say. And she's Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alameen. So imagine this. She's like the queen of creation. I'm just using it as a word. We're not calling her a queen. Arrives on the Day of Judgment. Everyone lowers their head out of humility in front of her. She goes, and then a couple of things start occurring.
Okay.
One, we have a few traditions that indicate the bloody shirt of Hussein will arrive on the Day of Judgment.
Allahu Akbar.
قميصه مدمخا بدمه. So his shirt covered in blood, soaked in blood. يعني بدمه. This shirt now will become an alam or a rams, a sign, a signal, of the injustice of all of humanity almost.
Wow.
Now, shall we go a little deeper?
Yeah, do it. Let's
You want to
go.
go deeper?
Let's go. Let's
Okay,
go.
Let's go. Let's go. The shirt of Yusuf alayhi salam had two symbols to it, but both were false. One had false blood.
Yeah.
Was brought to Yaqub. They pretended like a wolf had
Eaten him.
eaten him. Yaqub cried for however long until he went blind.
Yeah.
Till he could finally smell the scent of his son again in Egypt. Okay. Second symbol of Nabi Yusuf's shirt is the incident with Zulaykha. Got torn from the back. The accusation was something inappropriate occurred. Nothing inappropriate occurred. It was torn from the back. Min dubr. The ayah in the Quran is clear, the story is clear. Again, a false narrative regarding the shirt. Yet, what happens from there? It lands him in, where does
Prison.
Yusuf go? In prison.
Yeah.
So much dhulm done because of a single shirt.
Exactly.
Yet, both were false events regarding a shirt. The shirt becomes a symbol, almost a typology of sadness, oppression, a symbol of what can be done to a sacred person. The shirt almost becomes a symbol of their being, of it's very powerful if you think about it, of what they experience.
Sure.
Because the shirt almost becomes the word libas, because it's something that rests on our body, right?
Yeah.
It's a part of us almost, right? It's what covers us.
Exactly, yeah.
And it either gets pierced or there's blood on it. And that's the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, Prophet Joseph. Going to Imam Hussein, everything that happened to his shirt was real.
Yeah.
Torn with stab wounds, real stab wounds. Front and back.
Yeah.
Covered in real blood of his own blood. So imagine what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam because of two incidents surrounding his shirt, both of them being false. The full kind of conclusion of all of this human history of oppression really comes with Imam Hussein, or not its conclusion, but the peak of it. Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha will come with this shirt on the Day of Judgment. It becomes a symbol of, or almost a flag, a raya,
Yeah.
of when you want to think of Yali Tharat al-Hussein, you could think of the bloodied shirt of Hussein, and we actually read this in the historical books,
Wow.
that the bloodied shirt of Hussein becomes a symbol. And if I'm not correct, it may have even been used in the case of Uthman
Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
before, because it said Yali Tharat al-Uthman. There's a symbol, it's a symbol more than something physical. In Arabic, right, the bloodied shirt of someone or their shirt demonstrates like a rams, a symbol of their remembrance of what was done to them, of their life.
Yeah.
Except in the case of Imam Hussein, it's that touchstone for all of humanity on the Day of Judgment, because Fatima Zahra will come with the shirt of Hussein. And with that shirt soaked in blood or dripping in blood, she will demand justice from Allah. She'll say, Allah, you are Khairul Hakimin or Ahkamul Hakimin. Either wording is there. So judge يعني فقضي بيننا وبينهم. Judge between us and them, or judge between us and those who killed my son.
Wow.
And that shirt will be that cosmic, or not even cosmic, beyond cosmic, that metaphysical, universal evidence on the Day of Judgment sitting there in front of all of creation.
Wow.
That we will even then mourn for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And
Even on
Fatima
the Day of
Zahra
Judgment.
alayhi salam, Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alameen, becomes the kind of the central spokesperson, just like she was in Medina, on behalf of her husband Amir al-Mu'mineen, on behalf of herself, on behalf of her grandfather, behalf of her father rather, the Messenger of Allah. She becomes a spokesperson for her son
Wow.
on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Amam Allah Ta'ala, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, not physically, this is, representative of something, right?
Now I wanna ask, on the Day of Judgment, will the killers of Hussein also bow down to her, as in put their necks down and bow down to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, or
All of creation.
all of them?
All of creation. Even if they're going to be thrown in hell.
And that's when they'll know. Well, they already know, but that's when they'll know they've
طوعاً
really messed
وكرهاً.
up.
Willingly or unwillingly.
Wow.
Everyone will have to lower their necks in front of Fatima Zahra out of humility for her status. Also because her status was rejected in this world by a number of people. But on the Day of Judgment, at least this is what we see in some of the riwayat about the role of Fatima Zahra fi Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment. Salamullahi alayha. And she will take the shirt of Hussein in another riwayah and tie it to the throne of Allah, to the foot of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now the throne becomes marked with the blood of Hussein. The Arsh.
Wow.
Now the Arsh itself is not a physical thing, as Ahlul Bayt have told us. So this is all very deep, ghaibi, metaphysical, symbolic concepts. The shirt, the blood, the throne. But what it represents is divine power being exercised in its full and complete way in service of actualizing and bringing to light the injustice, sadness, and terror that was experienced on the plains of Karbala. Bringing all this back to Fatima Zahra because she is the one who delivers it. And that's why the majlis of Imam Hussein is the majlis of Sayyidah Zahra.
Now on the Day of Judgment, are we gonna... Is it going to be a case of Fatima Zahra comes on this vehicle as per se, and the army that helped kill Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, are they going to be secluded in one section and she says judge between them, or are they just going to be amongst everyone?
We're not sure. I'm not sure. I can't answer that for sure, but what we can say is that a judgment will occur between her and them.
Okay, sure. Now, Sheikh, I want to move on to Fatima Zahra alayhi salam's burial. And I want to come towards the circumstances of her burial. Because I know that a lot of events took place.
Yes.
Where when she was buried and the alleged first and second Khalif found out, they wanted to dig up her body, and so what happened from beginning to end?
So when Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha fell ill, Asma bint Umays was one of her caregivers towards the end of her life. The riwayah in Tusis Amali states that she was pointed towards Qibla. Asma bint Umays كانت تمرضها, that she was caring for her as a nurse towards the end of her life. And then she passed. Salamullahi alayha. From her wounds, of course. Amir al-Mu'mineen performed the ghusl, and then they took her to be buried. Now, her wasiyah was that the Muslim community of that time, aside from a very few, be denied the grace, pleasure, thawab, and privilege to attend her burial and her janazah. Salatul janazah, salatul mayyit. Before we move on to what happened, I think we need to grasp the symbolic power of this. To deny the most prominent members of the Muslim community at that time. Prominent, not necessarily, we use the word prominent just because that's how people perceive them, or they were made themselves to be perceived that way. Let us leave the word prominent, but you know what I mean when I'm using it. She dies under very suspicious conditions. For us, it's martyrdom, but let's say under very suspicious conditions. And it's all hush-hush? How could this be? If the Muslim community would attend the burial of a cleaner of the mosque of Rasulullah, and they would carry her casket and say La ilaha illallah wa Muhammad Rasulullah all the way to the graveyard, a cleaner in the masjid, may Allah bless her, and we don't even know her name, believe she was from Africa, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayha. The Prophet participated as well in her janazah.
Huge honor for her.
Yeah. We don't know her name.
Exactly.
Community participated.
Whole community.
Yeah. What about Sayyidatun Nisa al-Alameen?
But it was her choice.
Now here we come to it. To deny the community that must be something astronomically serious. It's a community. It's a community ritual. It's community rite. By rite, I mean R-I-T-E, not R-I-G-H-T.
Okay.
Rite as in a ritual, as in a performance of a ritual. So fundamental to Muslim identity. Why would she deny this from the community if there wasn't a profound reason for her to express her displeasure with the vast majority of the companions, female or male, in that community?
Even nowadays, when we're burying someone from within our community and another person doesn't turn up to the janazah, or it becomes like sort of aib. Like people become a bit sensitive. You know, why didn't he attend the janazah of, for example, my brother, or does he have something against me?
Or that person may have said before their death, "I don't want you at my burial. I don't want you at my funeral."
Yeah.
This was Fatima Zahra telling the community, "I don't care for you. You mean nothing to me. You mean nothing to me. You are not ummatan marhuma. You are not a mercified, blessed community anymore. You are something else."
And that's the daughter
of the Prophet.
Of the man who...
So the question that I ask, can anyone deny these historical events? It's pretty hard. How do you explain it? Either someone would say, well, she was na'udhu billah, la samahallah, not in her right senses. Astaghfirullah.
That's why I wanted to ask, how is she viewed by other sects?
Oh, no one would ever say that about Fatima Zahra. They would just simply say, may Allah forgive everyone jami'an.
Yeah, the generalization. They love
You
it.
know?
They love it.
We all get a trophy for participation, you know? So we call it the participation trophy, basically, right? You know, just turn to Allah and pray for everybody.
That doesn't give you reassurance.
Yeah, so the answer of some individuals would be, who said you need reassurance? What is it to you? What difference does it make to your life?
Because then it gives me the opportunity to be it gives me the opportunity to think that I'm on the level with some of the Sahaba, for example.
Yeah.
How can I say that?
Yeah.
You know, how can I say that I can be on the level of Astaghfirullah Salman or Abu Dhar?
Yeah. So she denied them that right, which is a sign of her profound displeasure. And the one that displeases Fatima displeases a prophet. The one who displeases a prophet displeases God. What does the Quran say about those who hurt the prophet? Allah removes His mercy from them. Okay, do the math. 1 + 1 = 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, come on. I'm being facetious here, but the point is that we have to understand our history in order to understand our aqeedah, because a part of what our heart contains is a reflection of who we are. And if we love Fatima Zahra, or if Shia love Fatima Zahra, then I think it's important for us to explain to the viewers why Shias make a big deal of these things. I don't think it comes out of thin air. I really don't, Minhal. I don't think. I'm looking at it as an academic. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I've spent the better part of about 15 years on these subjects. Well, closer to 20, but at least on Qadiyatul Zahra, let's say closer to about, almost 12, 13 years, 15 maybe right from the beginning on this issue. And I've mulled it over in my mind over a decade and a half to try to think about this. And I can't come to a satisfactory conclusion that would allow both parties to be happy. That everyone just holds hands and goes off in the sunset. It's either one or one. I mean, I don't know. Unless someone else can bring me a solution, I'm open to listen. Like I said, I'm academically minded. I'm open to listen to people. I personally can't find a workaround this.
I've got a solution.
What?
Disassociate from her killers. That's it.
Well, yeah, of course. For me, that's the solution. What I'm saying is, for them, they don't want to disassociate from anybody. Everyone is loved by Allah. Everyone is going heaven bound.
I mean, it's like Jesus died for our sins. What's the difference?
Yeah, it's not even Jesus died for our sins. I mean, that's one person.
Yeah.
But it's like saying the killer of Jesus and Jesus are equal.
They probably would put it that way.
It's like, it's like saying, as some do, actually, I've seen this. Hussein radiallahu anhu, Yazid radiallahu anhu.
Yeah.
Hussein, may God be pleased with him, and Yazid, may God be pleased with him. Or Ali, may God be pleased with him, and Muawiyah, may God be pleased with him. Or Ali karamallah wajhu, may Allah honor his face, because he never worshipped idols. How is Muawiyah and Ali both heaven bound?
No, forget that. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi, well, they say wasallam, not wa alihi. And Abu Sufyan radiallahu anh, they say. But
well, no, I mean, nobody compares Rasulullah and Abu Sufyan. Let's not.
No, they don't compare them, but they still do taraddi.
Taraddi. It's like saying Abu Sufyan in Amir al-Mu'mineen or Muawiyah in Amir al-Mu'mineen, right? But we're coming back to the point here, Minhal, which is that I think this is a really important piece of information which has to be contemplated upon. And then the circumstances of it, right? Then, according to some traditions in the early texts from the 5th, 4th century Hijri, Amir al-Mu'mineen dug decoy graves.
Yeah. I think it was 40?
40 decoy graves Because to that extent, then this must have been at the request of Fatima Zahra, because she didn't want anybody to know where she is, to have the right to visit her, to pray over her from that community. And then the first and the second Khalifa came to the cemetery and threatened to exhume the graves if Amir al-Mu'mineen doesn't tell them where it is, that they'll take her body out, pray over it, and put it back in. And he turns to them and says, Hadi imra'ati. This is my wife. And he says, if you turn over one stone in this graveyard, I'm going to take this sword and I'm going to put it into your neck, and I'm going to لَأَسْقِيَنَّ الْأَرْضِ بِدِمَائِكُمْ, and I'm going to irrigate this earth with your blood.
He was angry.
Imagine Amir al-Mu'mineen says, I'm going to irrigate the earth with your blood.
Do you think he's ever been this angry before?
No. No. I don't think so in the traditions that I've seen, no.
So you think when he saw Badr, Uhud, Khandaq, Khaybar,
No.
when they spat on him,
No.
this
Those were
was his
mushrikun,
angriest
they were
moment.
jahid, they were ignorant.
This was his angriest moment. Wow.
At the death of Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. And when he was burying her, he said that my back is broken. Wa amma husni fasarmada. We read this in the Amali of Sheikh Tusi, this is in the early sources. Can you imagine? He says, my sadness is endless, my back is broken. Ya Rasulullah, I'm returning the trust to you today. She's going to inform you of what the community has done to her. Imagine that moment where he's shaking the turba off of his hands. He buried his wife with his own hands at night without the community. And her children were there, according to some traditions.
Did any of the companions help him dig up the 40 graves, or did he do it on his own? Because I'm trying to...
They must have. They must
have helped him,
because
right?
Salman and Abu Dhar, these were the lieutenants of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This was his right and his left hand. Miqdad, Ammar. I mean, people like this were his core inner circle of people. Even, Ibn Abbas, we would say as well. These people were in his inner circle. Although we would say Miqdad, Ammar, Abu Dhar, these people, Salman, these people were in a level of their own.
Yeah.
And I believe could be reasonable to say that they assisted Amir al-Mu'mineen at this time.
So the question now is, were there any attempts by the usurping government to pressure the likes of Salman, Abu Dhar, Miqdad, Ammar to reveal where her grave was?
Maybe they didn't even know.
Oh. But they attended the janazah.
But there was no pressure. Yeah, but they could have attended the janazah, but then the actual physical burial would have been done by Amir al-Mu'mineen by himself, or just Imam Hussein and Amir al-Mu'mineen. It didn't mean that Salman knew exactly where she's buried.
Oh.
There's no guarantee that we have knowledge of this fact.
Okay.
I'm not saying he didn't know, but I'm saying there's no guarantee that he would have known or was pressured into it. No, they backed off. Once Amir al-Mu'mineen threatened to...
They closed the subject.
They closed the subject. They walked away. The riwayah says he turned red. His jugular vein was pulsating.
Wow. That hadith, I think it's the yellow cloak. That one is always one that just sends shivers down, because he says if you move one stone.
Yeah, once. If you turn over one stone, I'll essentially irrigate this earth with you. I'll finish all of you.
Sheikh, can we say that Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is the symbol for women's rights?
It's a good question. I don't think she would consider herself to be. She was fighting for wilaya, not for some women's rights cause.
Oh.
This is a modern apocryphal interpolation of Islamic historiography. There was no such thing as hukuk al-nisa. There was hukuk al-insan. the rights of all human beings, whether they be a woman or whether they be a man. Her justice had nothing to do in her mind, from what we see from a khutbah or a hadith, from the evidence that's available to us, it had nothing to do with her being a woman. It had to do with what was right. To say that Fatima Zahra is a symbol of women's rights today is, I think, problematic because of what goes along with the idea of women's rights today. Feminism, first wave feminism, second wave, third wave, Berkeley, California, London, Rolling Stones, all of that shit, satanic stuff. By Rolling Stones, I mean like the things promoted about liberty with regards to what people do with their bodies, like the messages that come from that. I wouldn't use those words. I would say human rights. Human rights, whether they be male or female, there's no difference. They're equal in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If she was given a haq, she was given a haq. Whether she was a man or a woman, it makes no difference. But at the end of the day, Fatima Zahra rises above all of this because she is the one that obedience is wajib to.
Ahsant.
It doesn't matter whether she's a male or a female in this case. Now, for them, it mattered. I don't think they liked it.
Exactly.
But for her, there is no indication in her speeches, in the traditions of Ahlul Bayt about her, that this had something to do with the kind of pre-modern feminism.
Okay.
There's just no, from what I can see, there's no academic, historical evidence to this effect. If somebody wants to pepper something on it that they want to pepper, I don't think it would stand up in an academic defense.
Okay.
But then people do what they want because they want to use certain role models for their causes. Whether that's valid historically or academically or intellectually is highly questionable.
Now, Sheikh, just a side question here, because I'm just wondering, you mentioned that the ta'a of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam is wajib, right? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa has passed away. What if Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam had passed away and Fatima Zahra was still alive? Would she be the hujjah or would it be Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam?
Imam al-Hasan would be the imam after him, right? So no, Imam al-Hasan. But she was still the hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay.
It's an interesting dynamic because you have two ma'asums alive at the same time together. You have Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. But Imam Ali was always the imam.
Of course, of course.
He was always the leader of the ummah. There was never any doubt about that at any moment. There was never any conflict. There was never any ambiguity of any kind.
Ahsant.
So let us put it this way. Disobedience to Fatima would be the disobedience to Allah. That's why what we mean when obedience to her is wajib.
Okay, okay.
And the one who rejects that, well, that might be an issue.
Their hisab will be on the Day of Judgment.
Yeah. Allah knows best.
Ahsantum Sheikhna. Thank you so much for this beautiful series on Fatimiyya. My dear brothers and sisters, there it is. 5 episodes for you for 5 nights. This is your Shi'i identity. And this is the ID card that you will take with you on the Day of Judgment, that you are a Fatimi and you observed the nights of Fatimiyya and you observed and acknowledged the Madlumiyya of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Thank you so much for joining me over the past 5 nights on this beautiful series. Inshallah, we will see you again very, very soon. From me and the Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
آمال